Hello and welcome back to a brand new episode of the Twenties podcast. I'm joined in the studio today by Dom Lawrence. He's a content creator and actor, and we're going to be talking about breakups today, which is a topic we have discussed in parts in different episodes, but we've never dedicated a full episode to this, and I think it's about time we do, because in our 20s or whatever age you are, undoubtedly we'll all probably go through breakups in our lives, and they can feel so debilitating. So we're going to chat through breakups today, all the questions that we've got, the most Googled things that people are asking about breakups. We're going to break it all down in today's episode and cannot wait to get into it. Hey, you're listening to the Talk 20s podcast. If you want to join in on the community discussion, head over to our YouTube channel, just search Talk 20s, or if you're driving or working and you just want to listen to the audio, you can still stay here on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. For full transparency, we love bringing you guys loads of free weekly content, but in order to do this, we do work with brand partners who you'll hear from in this episode, including an advertisement from Zopa Bank. We hope you enjoy this week's episode, and over to future Gabby to intro today's guest. So hello, Dom.
Hello.
Welcome to Talk 20s podcast.
Thank you for having me. This is so sick.
It's exciting that you're here. Me and you, we met at an event about a month ago.
A month ago, yeah.
It was nice. You were with one of our previous podcast guests, Kate, who's a friend of yours, which is really nice. She's been on the podcast a few months ago as well. So it was really nice to meet you there. And we were like, Dom, we've got to do an episode. And when I said to you, we're going to do an episode, you were like, I know exactly what I want my topic to be. So we're going to dive in. But first, we're going to open our peach iced tea, because we've just said that we're both the biggest.
Just bonded.
Yeah, we've just bonded over the fact that we love a peach iced tea.
Gluten-free, low-cal and vegan.
Uh-huh.
They're spoiling us.
I know they are. Like, these are Riviera, obviously, are our drink sponsors. And, like, genuinely, when we first got asked for them to be our sponsor, I was like, this feels like the most exciting thing in the world, because peach iced tea is incredible. Is it good?
That was like a hug in liquid form. Mm-hmm. That was delicious. I needed that. Oh,
we both bonded over the fact
247 millilitres to go.
I know.
Brilliant.
We both bonded over the fact we're both a little bit French. So my family's French, your family's
French. A little bit. Incoming the French people in the comments like, no.
But we always, like, peach iced tea just hits different, especially when you're in a different country.
In the south of France.
100%.
That with a glass of rosé.
I know.
Unreal.
I know. Well, we always kickstart the podcast by asking our guests to share a photo from this time last year.
Yeah.
To give us a little bit of an insight into your life. It really usually gives us a really good idea of, like, you know, what someone, you know, does or what their lifestyle is like. So talk me through the photo from this time last year.
Okay, so my photo is exactly a year ago today, taken at 10 to 7 in the morning.
Okay.
I'd got back from the club at 3, and I look pretty good for actually. I will beat up myself.
No way is that from you getting back from a night out.
So no, I get back about 3.
Okay.
Sleep 3 hours.
Yeah.
And then get up, because what we're doing, we are. There's another person involved in this. We're off to see the London Half Marathon, because his friend is running it, and let's just drop the bomb right now. That was the first night my ex had stayed over at mine since we'd broken up, so it was like, surprise, he's back.
Yeah.
And I remember taking that, just like feeling so full of excitement, and just like that, don't know how to explain it, just this buzz of you know, I've had 5 months of mental torture, which we can get onto, I'm sure, but it's like excitement for like a new era, like a new chapter, and let's just see where the day takes us, really. And
you just described this person as your ex. Was this you guys getting back together? Like, what was the situation when you'd like met up?
Well, so do you want me to go through the history of?
Let's go through the history then. Yeah, go on.
So he was the first person I'd met on like dating apps and whatever, that I'd actually met in real life. The first proper date that I'd had. So I presume that's one of the reasons why it's so hard for me to let go of. We saw each other a few times and then became exclusive. My first time ever becoming exclusive. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. On like New Year's 2023. And then by March we'd ended.
Wow.
Because there was just some communicational differences, different wants, different needs in life. And I just thought it best to be like, hey, I need to step away from this. I can't do this anymore.
So you made the decision to step back?
It was, I kind of it was mutual, I think. I don't want to go on record and be that sort of like alpha male, like I ended it. Yeah. But I think looking back, I did communicate that I don't want to be in contact anymore, because it was hurtful whenever we would be in contact. Because to put it bluntly, he didn't want a relationship and I did. And I was like, well, I'm in the stage now of like when I'm in love with you and I don't want to leave you. Why can't you just verbalize that you want to be in a relationship? Nothing needs to change. We're seeing each other the perfect amount, but it is what it is. You can't change people with something that I've learned from that.
Absolutely.
And then obviously 5 months went by, and then I posted a video on YouTube documenting the heartbreak, which is one of my most proudest videos. It's like my little child.
I've watched it made me cry.
Did it?
Honestly,
babe?
It's the cutest. It's the hardest thing because you go through every single emotion. It's so raw. Like, it's gorgeous. If people haven't watched it, they need to go to your YouTube channel and watch it.
Thank you.
But
That means so much, honestly. That was a really eye-opening experience and such a hard process as well, because I was still heartbroken while I was doing it, and I wasn't expecting it to be a video. I was just video journaling, because I think I just saw this TikTok early on into the breakup of like someone documenting their life like 1 second every day or something, and I was like, I want to do this because I want to look back. I know that I'm going to heal. Like, I knew deep down that something was going to change, and I wanted to see how I wasn't like previously. So it was good to have all those clips.
How was it editing all of that together? Because that must have been quite...
a lot of tears.
Yeah,
a lot of tears,
yeah.
because it was just, it was sort of vicious, actually, because you're looking at yourself in such a vulnerable state. And then I was thinking, do I really want to put this online? Do I really want potentially thousands or more to see
what
that?
they have? Yeah.
Because I'd never cried properly on social media before, like to the point where I'm like, I'm really upset. Like, no one's seen that side of me. I'm very humorous, comedic, sarcastic, jokey, a bit of a prick online.
You're not. You're not.
No, I'm joking. I love validation, so it's worked.
Yeah.
But yeah, jokes aside, I really love to tell stories, be that with humor or with heartbreak.
And you're an actor as well. Like, obviously, I'm sure that comes into it too.
But yeah, that was such a beautiful thing. So anyways, I reached out to him saying, hey, listen, sorry to break no contact, which was broken a few times intermittently, but not to the point of reopening any sort of wounds. I was like, hey, I'm posting a video. Do you mind if I do this? You're not mentioning it. I don't want people to associate this video with you. It's more my journey, but I want to let you know from goodwill. And he was like, absolutely fine. Like, go for it. And then I think a coffee was made from that conversation. And then we went, and I was thinking, it was like, this is it. We're going to go for one last coffee, and I'm never going to see you again. Spent 8 hours with him, went out. The next day we went to the marathon, and I was like, oh, that's weird. And then we agreed to be just friends and see where things go. And back then I was in a state of, you know what, I can really make this work, because I have missed him so much. I've missed the way he makes me feel. Key word there, makes me feel. And I really want to keep this close. So I'm looking forward to the future.
Building wealth or saving for the future usually comes with busy lives and banking with multiple providers. Staying on top of your finances isn't always easy when your funds and spending are split across different apps with complicated and frequently changing passwords. Knowledge is power, and that's why it's about time you got to know your money with your accounts in one place in the Zopa app. Zopa's free smart money tools are designed to help you save time and effort while managing your money, as well as provide you with useful insights to help you understand your spending habits and affordability, especially when it comes to spreading the cost of bigger purchases like buying a car, for example. Download the Zopa app now, that's ZOPA, and start by linking your accounts. Okay, and what are we thinking now?
Oh. Well.
Wow.
Things have changed quite dramatically. We're no longer talking. And it hurts my heart to say that. It's hurting right now. But it's meant to happen, which is something that I keep having to tell myself, because it's something that happens in life. You can't change people. You can't expect things from people. And you've kind of got to realize that not everyone that you love is going to be the one for you. But yeah, a lot has happened in the past year.
I can see you're so upset even just saying it now.
Oh,
like,
yeah, a little bit.
You can just see that, like, it still feels raw for you. And obviously this is something that's been going on for like some time. And like a lot of people just think like, oh, you know, you'll get over it. A lot of us don't get over it. A lot of this can often shape who we then meet in the future, or how we then go on to like have different kinds of relationships. How have you grown? Obviously, I think you can tell from the way you're talking about it that you've obviously done a lot of work like on yourself in the past year to be able to be in a headspace to be like, I think I can talk about this now. I think I'm in a good place, but also that you're acknowledging that it's like, it's hard to be in this space. What have you done in the past year? Like, have you been speaking to friends about it? Have you maybe spoke to therapists about it? Like, what have you done? Because I'm sure there'll be other people in this past year who go, I feel this way too. Like, I feel so heartbroken right now. Like, what do I do?
I mean, I've been the yappiest I've ever been. Like, I've been speaking to friends I forgot existed, being like, hey, what's your thoughts on this? Which I really do regret, actually. If I could go back and change something, I would say stop speaking to everyone, keep it minimal. Because then what happens with me is that I think or rather used to be very easily led by other people's opinions and thoughts and actions.
Right, yeah.
And by speaking to multiple people, you get a wider sense of what to do. No, wait, sorry. A more confusing sense of what to do. Because you get so many different pinpoints from people who are at way different emotional stages of their life. So for my friends who've been hurt before, they were like, can I swear on here?
Yeah.
They were like, fuck him, get rid of him.
Yeah.
Block him. Why the fuck are you still seeing him? Other friends were like, you have love for him, you need to honor that. I think you should still. And my mum as well, love her so much, but she was just so pro him and I, because she liked me being happy, obviously. And she was just like, I think you should just see where it goes and see how it, some people take years before they officiate anything in their relationships. And it was just an absolute mindfuck. I was like, what do I do? So I started journaling and going inward. And that was so beautiful, because I have on record now the process of my thoughts, dated, timed, where I was in the world, Croatia, home, Norfolk, Liverpool. And, I would see that the person I was in that moment forever, like, written down. And it was really sort of cathartic. I recently looked back through them while doing the second part to my Heartbreak video. I posted another documentary recently, a year on. And it was just nice to look through those journal prompts, but also very haunting. I feel like I'm getting away from the point, actually. What was the question again?
No, I think it's really it's just what you've done in the past year to kind of navigate it.
Yeah.
And I think that's so interesting, actually, that you have, not only have you documented by video, but you've also been writing your thoughts down, because not everything can be shown, I guess, in video form, especially when you've got a lot of thoughts going around in your head constantly. You're not always going to speak them out loud, but you definitely will be thinking them, but you might write them down. I think that's so interesting, that the way you say to, like, obviously, we need people around us to support us and stuff.
Absolutely.
But I really I really get what you're saying about having multiple different opinions and thinking, what does this person think? What does this person think? Like, having a few that you can obviously confide in. I also love people who will just listen and who don't necessarily want to solve your problems. Because sometimes you do just need to get out, like, what you're thinking and just have yourself be heard. And you don't necessarily need you could do this or you could do that, or he'll come back, or this or that. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, you don't,
I had a penny every time I heard
don't
that.
need that. Do you know what I mean? So
I would definitely say less is more. Less is more, in the sense that keeping your circle close. It also means, when you bump into said friend again after 6 months not talking, they're like, oh, how's the ex? And it's like, oh, I was coming here to party. Why would you bring that up? I'm so sorry that I involved you. And also, I am someone that, like, changes every 5 seconds. I feel like I'm evolving. I mean, I wasn't the same person I was when I posted that story a week ago. I'm a new man now, So, these people are capturing me, as I've said, like my journal, but people as well are capturing me in that moment of who I am. Be that desperation, be that inquisitive, be that hurting, be that thriving, so I'd rather keep it to people who are close and can handle me in all my states, and not people just like, hey, here's what I did, hope it helps. And it's like, great, I have another perspective to add on to the millions of others. But yeah, going inward is something I'd really recommend. I know sometimes we don't have the answers, that is apparent. We're all learning and we're all trying every single day, but going inward really helped me clear a lot of the loud anxiety, because I think following our intuition is, like, key. But during the heartbreak, my anxiety was louder and it overpowered my intuition. So I heard a saying that anxiety is loud, intuition is quiet. So if you listen to the anxiety, which is screaming at you, going, don't do that, or do this, out of fear, then you will continually go down a route of anxiety. Do you know what I mean? And then intuition is very quiet and very subtle, but and you don't need to be screamed
sometimes
at.
It's harder to follow that intuition.
100%.
Because it's definitely easy to, like, go with your anxieties, because it's what you're usually led by, what you're usually able to do. But, like, sometimes listening to your intuition, deep down, you just don't want to admit it. Like, don't want,
the past few months, 100%. Because I was actually combating this connection for a while. I think from about April, for a good 3 or 4 months, I was very combating this connection to be like, is it worth it? Am I feeling fulfilled? Am I feeling happy? And those are hard questions to ask yourself when you're in a connection with someone. They're texting you, they don't even know what you're thinking. And there was a clip in my new documentary that I edited of me in April. I think we were in a bit where we were not talking, because, again, I was like, you say you love me, I say I love you, can we not be in a relationship? And he was like, no, I just don't feel like it's right for me at the moment. you know, and he's well within his right to say that. I'm not going to shame the guy for it, but it just was shit because the timing and the emotional feelings I had for him and the connection that we had, it was just like such a shame to be like, why can we not just do this? But in April, I was in a mindset of like, what am I doing? But then I'd meet him and everything would be fine. And I'd just go back and regress into being like, no, I can deal with it. I'm going to be fine with this. Yeah. And then it would just, the cycle would repeat.
So you guys in a case now where you're not talking and you've decided to completely cut off contact?
Yeah, I feel like out of sight, out of mind is the best approach. It's something that helps me detach. And I'm also doing this to preserve the connection. I want to just preface this as well and say that there's no hatred from me in this connection. You know, people are well within the right to have their own opinions and choices and how they choose to commit. That's completely their prerogative. For me, I'm hurt, but I'm not going to hold that against you. The past is the past. I will move on. And I want to get to a stage where I can look at him and not be like, I have so much love for you, rather platonically instead of romantically. So I can go out and have, you know, drinks with him and his friends and not be like, I wish things would have worked out, you know? So by going no contact allows me to detach romantically and sort of just reevaluate what I want, boundaries, needs, etc. And also what this connection could become in the future when I spend some time away from it. You know what I mean?
A lot of people say that thing, like, you have to like love yourself before someone else will like love you.
RuPaul's famous quote.
Yeah. Did I just absolutely obliterate that? Probably. Yeah. But you gotta, how does RuPaul even say it? Like,
if you can't love yourself, how the hell are you gonna love somebody else? Can I get an amen up in here? I've seen too many episodes of Drag Race.
That's so true. But the thing is, as soon as you said it, I knew it. I was like, I could literally have finished that sentence. But yeah, you are totally right. Do you believe in that? Like, do you think that actually, like, do you think you have always had enough love for yourself, or do you think that's something that you yourself like need to work on? Because I think that's really hard. Like, it is correct. Like, 100%. You definitely need to find out who you are, because the other alternative, Dom, in this scenario could have been trying to change yourself to make him change his mind. Like, a lot of people, I'm sure that's that thought has gone through your brain.
That's 100% what I was doing.
But like, I feel like if you accept the person that you are and you love the person that you are, and you're not willing to change within reason, obviously everyone evolves and stuff like that, but you're not looking at yourself thinking, I'm wrong, I need to change for this person, that's actually a much better mindset to go into with relationships.
Absolutely, but I think so many people don't do that.
No, it's because it's hard.
It's so very hard, but it's also like, I think upon reflection now, it's like, why was I trying to force myself into a puzzle piece I didn't fit in?
Yeah.
Why was I so like adamant that I had to be wanted by this person? And I think it's because I met him when I was 19 and I wasn't in love with myself at all. Like, yes, of course, I'm gonna be up myself a little bit here, but you know what, we all need some self-love. I knew that I was a good looking guy. I knew that I had a really good job. I knew that, you know, I was very privileged and I had a good thing going for me. The self-love I have for myself and the self-respect that you have are two very different things. Like, you know, you can look pretty, you can have cool clothes, you can have a cool lifestyle, but what happens inside is vastly different. And I feel like because I didn't love myself enough in that connection, I often let myself be disrespected, but not by any fault of his own. He didn't actively disrespect me. He just
wasn't intentional.
It wasn't intentional, and that's the thing that sucks, you know, because it doesn't give me a reason to hate him. Because with me, if I don't like you, bridges snapped, gone. I can move on. But the fact that there's so much love there still, it's just like the hardest thing. It's like nails are on the floor. I'm clawing while getting pulled away from this, but it's working. So,
how hard is it to not text someone when you really want to text them and speak to them?
Oh God, really hard. I mean, that could be the simplified answer, but the long answer is I think we miss that dopamine rush. We miss that. The way they make us feel, we miss that familiarity. I got some bad news last week and I broke no contact. I texted him, I will be honest, even after my videos posted, after I'm so triumphant and like, guys, it gets better.
Yeah.
It can hit you at random times. And I think, you know, I was crying my eyes out last week and I just texted him and I was like, I'm so sorry to break no contact. I just really need someone right now. And he was asleep because it was like 1 a.m. But he ignored it the next day and we haven't spoken since. And it was just like, oh, that's what I get for breaking no contact. Not that you should blame yourself hardly at all, but he's respecting my boundary that I put up.
Yeah. What, so like, I feel like I have to ask the question, like, because our audience will probably want to hear it, but like, why was he the person that you wanted to go to during that time?
I think I'm gonna get emotional. I think I feel like I'm losing grip with some friendships recently. I feel like I guess this is a question we can get onto later, but so many connections in your life are more fragile than I thought. People are focusing on themselves. They don't have the time for you as much as they once did, and people change. So for me, I sort of went to him because he was a constant in that sense. Even throughout a lot of turbulence that happened early this year, I lost 2 of my closest friends, one of which we've rebuilded a friendship, but she's awful at replying. Love her so much, but the other one is doing well with her partner and stuff, and that's great. But it sucks when like your closest friends don't really close friends as close friends should. To me, selfishly, I know, but I think I just needed a friend in that moment. None of them are answering. So I was just like, fuck, I really need someone because like I'm spiraling here.
This episode is brought to you by Invoice Home. We know a lot of you listeners are freelancers, small business owners and side hustlers. So our newest sponsor of the Talk 20s podcast couldn't be more fitting. No matter your business type or industry, we all need to send invoices. And I've got to be honest with you, I had no idea how to do this when I first started out as a business owner. I wish I'd heard about Invoice Home back then because it would have saved me a lot of time and stress. Invoice Home is a leading online invoicing platform designed to simplify billing and invoicing processes for small businesses, freelancers, and entrepreneurs. Creating and sending professional-looking invoices at home or on the go has never been easier, as you can access your account from any device via their website or app. They offer a free and unlimited plan to suit everyone's needs. Try it today and visit invoicehome.com to get started. So I did some looking up about breakups on the internet, as you would, because I'm sure a lot of people will go to the likes of TikTok, YouTube, etc. to kind of like. Did you do that? But for the beginning, in the beginning, like,
of course I did.
Literally Google how to get through a breakup, and I started looking at some of the questions and like what the internet says about breakups. So it said like the common reactions to breakup is, it's a significant loss.
Yeah.
You should expect to feel sadness, depression, insomnia, anxiety, have concentration difficulties, and a loss or gain of appetite are common. Did you have any of those things?
All of them.
Yeah. I think a lot of people can relate.
And I think for the first time in my life, I'd felt like that. It was such a weird phenomenon. Like I wasn't expecting it to hit me as hard as it did. And also, it doesn't help that I'm a Scorpio. And also my Venus is in Scorpio. So like, double homicide.
Yeah.
My mum reached out a lot because she was very worried, and she was like, please, can you just move back home for a few weeks? I'm really worried about you. I was like, I'm fine. And also, annoyingly, when we first broke up, I was alone in the house because my ex flatmate had just moved out.
Right.
So I was alone. And
Right,
it was like March as well. The weather was just shit. I mean, it's London. What can you expect? Like wet rain every day, gloomy grey skies. And it was just the worst period of my life. So much so, I spoke about this, but I completely don't remember March to June of last year. It's a blur. I don't remember what I got up to. Events come up on my camera roll. Like 1 year ago today, I was like, I do not remember doing that. And it's so interesting. But all of those things that people are searching for and the common things that follow breakup happen. And they hit you.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting it to be so vicious and vigorous.
You hear people talk about it and you're like, oh, yeah. And then you experience it. And you're like, oh my God, no, that's really real. Like that is actually really scary. The other stuff that came up, a sense of abandonment, blame, and personal failure was another one. I think that's huge because, I mean, I've been in a long-term relationship now. I recently got married for like 10 years, but I experienced a lot of this in my teens. And personal failure was like probably one of the most, awful feelings in the world, because whenever a relationship doesn't happen, all the hopes and wishes and dreams that you kind of had, you'd probably plan them in your head, how this future's going to look like, what you're going to do this, how many kids you're going to have, like where you're going to live, all this kind of stuff. All of that kind of just disappears. And I think that's one of the hardest things, especially if it's something that you have posted about publicly, because you end up feeling sometimes a lot of guilt in terms of like, oh, like I feel like I've let myself down because I'm the reason that none of that's going to happen. And it's so hard to kind of shift that and being like, oh, if only I'd done this different, like, I could have, it could have worked out, when actually that's not the perspective that you should have. But all of us feel that during a breakup. Was that something that you felt?
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. It was always just, what have I done wrong? What could I have done better? And also, because I think relationships sting a lot more when they're fresh, when you break up when they're fresh, when they're new. It was a new concept to me. My first queer relationship as well. My first adult serious relationship, I guess. I mean, we were never officially boyfriends, but exclusive was the most that I'd take. And the fact that it was just taken like almost overnight was horrendous. And it was just such a weird thing to go through, especially that feeling of failure. It was like, what have I done? And then I was plagued by what if he, wanted to text me, but because I've said no contact, he doesn't want to reach out? What if, he's too scared to reach out because I've been putting up my walls? What if he saw my story of me out for dinner with a friend, but I didn't tag the friend, so he thinks I'm dating someone else and he's going to go on dating app? Like, it was just so an endless conscious stream of drivel that plagued my head, and it was just endless. And it was so horrible because it was like, why is my brain going to these depths, these quite weird claims as well? Like, girl, he's probably just at home playing on his Switch or something, or walking his dog, not really caring too much, and you're thinking that he's some sort of like serial dater, going left, right and center on all the apps and stuff like that. So
it's the not knowing though, isn't it? Because you're thinking like, like all of this stuff could be true, or all of this other stuff could be true, and your brain will play tricks on you thinking, oh, could it be this, or could it be that, or here's a little hint that it could be this. And like, it's so hard to not look at things. Sometimes I'm sure you wake up and think about them in every different angle, but if you're overthinking, it can just consume everything in your brain, and you can just be preoccupied with so many different angles of how to look at this relationship, trying to find a way to kind of like move on. For you, what got you out of your head? Like, where were the moments in the past year that you've gone, I'm actually not thinking about my breakup?
So in the first documentary, I actually wake up one Sunday without having Sunday blues. I don't know if you know the term Sunday blues, pretty self-explanatory. But I think it was the only day of the week that I wasn't doing anything. So I had time alone with my thoughts, so I'd naturally feel like shit. It was the end of August last year, and I woke up and I was like, I feel fine. I haven't thought of him all morning. What the hell? And then I documented it. And that was like a sort of eureka moment. It was like, oh my God, it does change. And then pretty much not yet this time round, I will be honest, not yet. I mean, actually, well, I did say earlier that the shorter ones hurt because you're full of what ifs. I think because I went back a second time and did all the what ifs, I guess. Like, we did everything, met the families, family holiday, met the dog that he spoke so highly of and stuff like this. And I clocked out. I said to him, I can't see or talk to you after we do this holiday because I don't want to. And it was a lot easier. And then he broke no contact recently, which has then sent me into a spiral. And I'm not going to get too detailed into it because obviously I don't want to share his business online because it's not my place to do that. That's one thing I want to stress as well. I want to make this process about me in the least egotistical way possible. I don't want him to look at the content I'm putting out, which recently is a lot of heartbreak content, and him to think I'm the worst person in the world, because that's not the message I want to share. I want to just share the message to the viewers and the followers and anyone who wants to watch it. You will get better. Heartbreak does heal and you'll move on. Right now, I'm not fully healed. I know that,
it's important to speak about that in the moment though. Like,
yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I will be honest. Like, there's, even on the train here, like, it was gloomy weather, and then like a Taylor Swift song came on my shuffle, and I was like,
she gets you, doesn't she?
She's a little jump scare, actually. With her little sad songs, because she's got about 190 sad songs and about 2 happy songs. But yeah, it just creeps up on you, and sometimes you're not over it. And I think Olivia Rodrigo put it quite what's the word? Quite bluntly, 1 step forward, 3 steps back. So sometimes you do make a big progress forward, and then it might seem you go back loads of steps, but it's not that. Like, you do always heal constantly, even if you don't recognize it. Yeah.
I also looked at Google's most asked questions on breakups. The first one is how to accept a relationship is over.
I'm going to be honest, I'm still in the process of doing that.
Yeah.
There's parts of me that still hope for it to come back. There's parts of me that want this version of myself. Like, imagine my brain's in 2, right? Yeah. One part of my brain's like, it's gonna happen again. It's gonna get back to how it was. Like, try and reach out. The other part of me, like, you left for a reason. Yeah. Self-respect exists. Follow that. You will just feel upset in this connection. It was missing. I think I missed the idea of who he was. Excuse me. And the way he made me feel. And yeah, I think to accept a relationship is over is like no easy feat. It's like you are intertwined with this person energetically, physically, mentally, emotionally. Like you are one, and to separate that, sometimes it's really fast. Sometimes it's a slow burn, but it's so hard. And it's one of the hardest things people will do, I think, in life. And that just shows how much resilience, how much courage you have to openly admit, I've gone through this heartbreak. Even more so if you look back at it with love. Because a lot of my friends, as I mentioned at the beginning, some of whom are still angry at their exes. And I think that's bad because that's energy lingering into the past. And you're still sort of attracting them in a weird way. Most of which reached out to me in the past month, Mercury retrograde, and was like, guess who's just reached out to me? And it's like, because you're not severing that, you're not detaching, you know? I think if you look back with love and just sort of rinse your hands of it and be like, listen, this was a beautiful connection, I'm going to let it go. If it comes back in the future, it comes back in the future, but that's not for me to decide. Brilliant. Or you can look at it like, I hate you so much, I will always hate you, I'll never forgive you, you will always be in the back of my head, and I will always think of you. I just think that's an unhealthy thing for yourself as well. You know, not forgiving them, like just letting them, you know, and being like, thank you for the lessons that you taught me, thank you for the love that you gave me, if any, and I'll move on and, you know, use the love that I was giving to you for me now.
I think one of the most common quotes used for breakups is, don't worry, there's plenty of fish in the sea.
Yeah, I had that quite a bit.
How do you feel about that statement?
I mean, as we mentioned earlier, I'm a Scorpio and a Scorpio Venus, so I fall in love like that. So I get on the tube and a man of 6'3" height plus looks at me for 2.5 seconds, and I'm thinking, spring wedding?
Yeah.
So yeah, not so that I can move on really quick, but there's plenty of fish in the sea. And I live in London, which is like 9 million people. So I think I'll be all right. But I'm not living life to be in a relationship at the moment.
I think that's the most important part.
That is really important.
It's definitely important to know that like you deserve, like obviously you in your situation, you deserve to be loved the way you are loving or trying to give love to someone else. But you do and you will find a person who will give you that. But also your life isn't like a success or a failure based on you finding that as well at the same time. So, you know, that will eventually, if you're giving out that kind of energy, that will eventually attract itself to you. But like in the meantime, that doesn't mean that like you should, you know, waste away your life because you're not in a relationship. Like you're just a whole person just as you are as well. Like I think that's the thing when you think about, like, you know, Adele, if we're thinking about, you know, all the people who've written these songs, like one of her biggest songs is, you know, Someone Like You. And like she talks about that heartbreak that she'll literally like, she'll go out and find someone else that will treat you the way that you deserve to be treated. And they're similar in ways, but they fill those bits which, you know, they want to commit, they want to do all of those kind of things. And I think that is true. And so definitely I think that's a nice way to like hold out hope. But if that's the only thing that is consuming your brain, often you might find yourself, you know, falling into bed with someone who isn't right because you're literally rushing into those things and that's what you're trying to like fill that void as well.
You raise a good point there. I think a lot of people, I'm going to directly address people here, fall into the wrong relationships constantly. They're like, why do I keep attracting these types of men or women or whatever? Because you're not learning from the behavioral types that they are. And I think it's a lesson that you need to learn. And I really believe this saying, whatever your stance on anything is, the universe will keep chucking you the same lessons until you learn them. And not that I want to share this personal detail, but you know what? Talk 20s podcast, why not?
Why not an exclusive?
Growing up, I had a family member that was very, I don't want to use this term lightly, but very emotionally manipulative. And I have since cut them off. And I think the lessons that I constantly didn't learn from, I learned them. And when I learned them, I was like, you're not good for me anymore. You need 100%. To go. And then since then, I've actually lived a lot more of a peaceful life.
I have a very similar situation.
So if you apply that to your relationships, you will thrive. So if I'm going, you know, onto Hinge or Tinder or whatever, and I'm trying to find someone and they're like, not looking for anything serious, and I swipe right on them, that's my own fault. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I want to look for someone who's committed and wants a long-term relationship with me. I'm not looking for a 3-week, you know, casual by Chapel Roan. Like, I'm not looking for that. I'm looking for something fulfilling with endless, beautiful love with someone else. But so many people in my DMs, especially after the videos came out, they were like, I'm in a relationship, an on-off thing. I keep attracting the same people. It's because I don't know why I'm looking at you and telling you this.
Please.
But this is for everyone.
Please.
I just think you're attracting the same types of people.
Yeah.
And you're not learning the lessons from them. You are constantly going back into the cycle of like allowing these types of emotionally unavailable people into your life. And that is why I think taking time for yourself, which is the really hard part, the ugly, grotesque, evil part of healing from a heartbreak is actually spending time alone.
Yeah.
And knowing the difference between being lonely and alone.
Mm-hmm.
And once you get, as we said, in love with yourself, you will then have such a bountiful and abundant relationship with anyone, platonic, romantic, or anything like that.
Obviously, in the situation, it sounds like you were the one to kind of initiate those conversations, even though they were mutual and stuff like that. But like, how, for someone who's listening to this right now, who's been thinking about breakup, maybe not going through it right now, but they want to, you know, how do you know when is the right time to kind of break up with someone, and how do you do that initial part of it?
I'm a big fan of communication. I feel like so many people aren't. I feel like a lot of people don't like to drop those big texts or have those calls. I mean, hell, I get scared calling BT sometimes. I'm like, hello. But you know what? I think if you are having any doubts at all about your relationship, and if they are to regard with trust, or like if you don't trust your partner, remove them. Get them out of your life. Because simple as, why would you try and force your way through regaining trust for someone who once betrayed you? That's not for me. I do believe in that you can re-trust someone in a long period of time, but trying to do that in a relationship would only make you resent them more, which is what happened to me. I feel like if you are having a few like if buts maybes, oh, he's really nice, but he's just, I don't know, gives me the ick a bit, then maybe speak that out with him or them or her, whatever. And just say like, hey, listen, I'm having a few, like communicate. Because if you don't communicate, if you just go straight cutthroat, like I'm not feeling this, bye, you could have lost someone really good for you, but also you won't have those conversations, so you'll just stay in a relationship that you're not happy with. So I think communicating is super important, but the cut-offs is like stuff like trust or anything that falls on that level. Reduce, reuse, recycle. Control, Alt, delete. Get rid.
Reduce, reuse, recycle.
I shouldn't use recycle in that sense because that means using it again. So don't do that. Just get rid.
I think it's the really hard bit is the getting over it, the moving on, the eventually getting up one day and not thinking about them, and them not being the first thought that comes into your brain, and going, okay, like I can live life in a way that means, like, you know, well, you did once live a life where you didn't know this person, so you can live life without this person.
That's something that brings me back down as well. When I'm in these states, I'm like, well, I live life fully before him. I can live life fully after him. It's just my perspective of this person and the sort of energetic grip I'm allowing him to have on me. But sorry, carry on.
No. I think you're absolutely right. Some of the other parts that are really hard about a breakup is often when friends are connected in that same circle, because not only do you lose that person, but then you also lose the people and the friendships and the connections that you made with them around them. And obviously you guys were connected for not a crazy period of time, but I'm sure you've got friends that you made during in that time as well, that you then lost as a result of this relationship breakdown. How do you navigate that?
Me personally, I kind of believe that everything is meant to happen how it's meant to happen. So if you lose people, it's not happening against you, it's happening for you. I personally haven't, like, it's not been addressed or communicated because I don't really talk to his friends as much as he would to mine. We still follow each other. We still follow all the friends and stuff. I do feel that everyone's situation is different, and if you were closely intertwined with, you know, your partner's friends, again, I think communicating and just being like, hey, listen, I really did enjoy the connection that we had. Can we please continue it regardless of my situation with, you know what I mean? It just depends on the situation. But for me, I'm quite lucky in that I haven't grown like the closest relationship with his best friend or something. It's just a sort of, you know, if I saw them in the street, I'd be like, oh my God, hi, how are you? And then just move on with my day. To not sound like a prick, but
yeah, you
know what I mean? Again, I've tried to keep my circle small, and it's just, you know, if you're outside the circle, then it's like, I'm not gonna grieve that. Again, it is sad because there are days, you know, where like we'd hop out to a bar and go out for a night out with them all or something. I met his co-workers and they're all really lovely, but you know, I feel like, again, if it happens for a reason. And it's not to say that they can't ever be your friend again. You may be able to like recommunicate in a few years or months, whenever. Like, that's what brings me such excitement right now, is that the future is limitless. Its possibilities are endless. There's nothing that cannot happen. You can wake up tomorrow and win the lottery. You can wake up tomorrow and want to move to Antarctica. Like, life is so unpredictable. So by just sort of having this mindset of finality and being like, everything's over. I've lost all of his friends. I'm an awful person, which everyone goes through.
Yeah.
But once you snap out of that and change your perspective, which is what I'm trying to do, it doesn't happen overnight. Let me tell you that for free. But I'm trying to do that at the moment, just to shift my perspective and be like, actually, life is beautiful and this is happening for me, not against me.
I think one of the important things to address as well, like in this discussion, is that if people are really, really, really struggling, that they need to obviously go and speak to either their doctor or a counsellor or a therapist.
100%.
Is that like something you feel comfortable sharing? Like if you have or you haven't in this past year, and like how important that is? Because I know a lot of people, you know, friends and family can be a really good support network. But like we said, sometimes you just need someone to listen and actually look at it from a medical or a mental health perspective as well.
Unbiased even.
Yeah, and unbiased, yeah.
I did one therapy session.
Yeah.
She was £150 an hour. So I was like, I spoke to my mum after I did it and I was like, just a therapy. She was like, oh, amazing. How much was it? And she was like, never do that again. And I was like, to be fair, the energetic relief I felt after talking to a therapist, because she's also trained in like, I think it was cognitive behavioral therapy or something, and talking about how to just detach. And I felt better within the hour. And then obviously it slowly comes back when you start thinking about it more. So she was really good and effective.
Just not cost effective.
That part. But I do think that, you know, going to a doctor, counsellor, someone who's not a friend, to really just talk to, and they are open to talk to you, because you don't know what your friends are going through. Your friends could also be going through their own shit.
Yeah.
Your friends could also be like, love you so much, I'm not in the mental state to deal with this right now. And because you're so hurt and emotionally volatile, you'll take that personally and be like, they hate me. Life's even worse, like I did. Like, I think a few of my friends last year were like, I love you, Dom, but I can't deal with this right now. And very selfishly, not to them, I didn't tell them this, but I took it as an egotistical attack. I was like, they have done with my drama, they don't want to talk to me anymore. Not the case. I was just hyperbolizing it as usual. But just, yeah, I agree. I think going to a doctor or therapist is great.
I think this has been, hopefully, I think that this is an episode that would hopefully help a lot of people right now
really
who
hope
are
so.
going through breakups, who are going through difficult moments in their relationship. It often feels so hard to navigate, and like you don't really, it's hard to speak to someone else. So hopefully this conversation has felt somewhat like of a, you know, a sigh of relief, like, you know, things do get better. And, you know, even if they're still hard, like you're saying it's still hard to get through, you know, there is light at the end of the tunnel, and you're going to find joy again in the life that you live. So thank you for being so honest, so vulnerable, like on the podcast, because we wouldn't be able to do this podcast without amazing guests like you being so honest and vulnerable. So thank you. We always talk to our guests about their 20s in general at the end of the podcast, or towards the end of the podcast. And we like to talk about things that we feel like in life that openly will say that we failed at. So things that have happened in the past that you've gone, that was a great big fat failure, but I learned a lesson from it, and it's okay to fail. Is there something that springs to mind when you think about, you know, oh God, that's a huge adulting fail. I can't believe I did that. Maybe it might have shaped who you are now, but like we want to kind of normalize the fact that we're all going to fail at times in our life.
I think navigating this breakup, I hate to keep it on the theme, but that has been a poignant part of my 20s thus far, and it's in turn shifted how I view friendships, connections with family. Like it's been a real soul turning moment, and I would go back again and treat it differently. You know, I broke no contact a million times. I felt like I was upsetting friends. I, you know, was not a version of myself that I was a fan of. I was doing very manipulative tactics, like, you know, checking story views, which hurt myself when he wasn't viewing them, or, you know, posting or making sure to go on you know, he'd muted me obviously, so I'd be like, okay, friend, like post a story of me, why not? Manipulating them to post a story so then he'd see it. Like, it's not happening. If you force it, it will not happen. And it's okay that I have flopped in this navigating the heartbreak. I feel like this time around I've done a pretty better job, because I've done the, you know, the what's it called, the lessons.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's never easy. And also, as I said, friendship breakups, just as sad as relationship breakups, like they really hurt. And obviously I'd rehandle how I did that as well. But also give myself more time to be upset. I feel like I was just workaholic mode. Can't let a single thought occur. Doom scrolling, editing. Do not let a single thought occur about this. And it became very, very uncomfortable. So, and also just another heartbreak, like just losing your best friend is never easy, as well as, you know, someone that you love. So yeah, just give myself more slack and not be so what at myself, but also rejig how I'd handled the first part of my heartbreak journey.
So if Dom was sat in that chair right now and he had just broken up with your ex, you'd give him a hug.
I'd give him a hug. I'd have a little cry with him. I'd just be like, you know what, you are okay.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a bit of a turbulent year, but you are strong and you're going to have like loads of love and support more than you've ever imagined in your life. Oh God, I'm getting emotional in this podcast studio. No, it's
We've
fine.
managed to like hold back the tears in this episode, but it's hard. Like we go through these moments in our lives, and we talk about a lot of things on this podcast. And breakups is something that I said at the beginning. We've mentioned in passing in various different bits in this episode, but I think it's really important that we dedicate a full episode to this, to someone who is struggling right now, because it can feel so consuming. It can feel like every single thought going through your brain is about this. And there is 100% light at the end of the tunnel. You will find happiness and joy in your life, whether that is with someone else or whether that's just in yourself. And yeah, I'm so grateful to you for coming on the podcast and sharing your story with us. Thank you so much. I'm sure you'll help so many people. I love the documentaries that you've posted. And for anyone listening to this right now, they need to go and watch both of them, because they really do tell a picture and a story of going through that. And for anyone, what would you want to say to anyone who's like going through it right now?
Just give it time. Time is the biggest healer, and just make sure that you know that you have endless love. You gave this person so much love, it's only right you give it to yourself now. And also, when you give out love, you get it back tenfold. So all that love that you give out is only going to come back to you in like abundant amounts.
Oh, Dom, I love you. You're so sweet. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I really appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
That's amazing. You are such a sweetie.